Now, we would like to invite Professor Dr. Mehmet Karaca, Director of Istanbul Technical University, to deliver his speech.
Dear members of Istanbul Technical University, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you all to the Istanbul Technical University Honorary Doctoral Degree Ceremony 2019. It has been a great pleasure for me to do the introduction speech. We are today assembled to celebrate a very happy and indeed an equally honorable event, namely conferral of the title of honorary degree to the three of the greatest luminaries of earth sciences in the world. It really does not get any better than the three gentlemen standing here as our laureates who have honored our university by their acceptance of our honorary degrees and thus inserting their names among our alumni. Honorary doctorates are a cheap way for university to add its list of graduates' illustrious names across the board of sciences and humanities. Let me remind you what a doctorate degree is. It's essentially the highest license to teach and thus highest academic degree a university can offer. It comes from the Latin licentia docenti and signifies the right to teach in a university. It was first confirmed in 13th century in the University of Paris. Originally, the degree of magister was sufficient to teach in a university, and many great names in faculties of medieval universities had only magister degrees, what we call, in today, masters. Doctoral degree confirmed the right to teach any university that recognized the title. A doctorate is thus the ultimate degree an academic aspirant can attain. By conferring an honorary degree, a university not only recognizes the laureate as an alumnus, but also as one who has the right to teach in it. It is thus the vehicle to add great names not only to its roster of graduates, but also potentially to its list of faculty members. Professor Dewey, Pichon, and Dr. McKenzie need no introduction as the greatest living earth scientists, but they are also distinguished by great support they gave to Turkish earth sciences, particularly to our university. They have students among our faculty. They have close friends among our professors. They have initiated many projects in Turkey and obtained the funding for them, thus massively advance our understanding of geology of our country. They have been long associated with us, so that today's conferral of honorary degrees to them only formalizes that close tie. Now, more than 40 years old. The degrees honor us really more than they honor them. We are grateful that they accepted them and added luster of our annals. And thank you very much indeed.
We thank our Honorable Rector for their speech. Dear guests, we will move on to the ceremony where Professor Dr. John Dewey will be conferred upon the honorary doctorate. We would like to invite Professor Dr. Celal Şengör to present Professor Dr. John Dewey.
Magnificus, the members of Istanbul Technical University. It's a great honor for me today to present Professor John Dewey as a laureate of an honorary doctorate from Istanbul Technical University. Well, it is particularly happy for me that John happens to be also my PhD advisor. So, in geology, I was really made by him. John belongs to the pre-war generation in Great Britain, and when I was his student, I noticed that both him and his lifelong friend, late Kevin Burke, they looked at the whole world as if it was their own property. You know, they knew all about the world. I mean, they were not interested in any one particular little topic, but they embraced geology as a whole. John got his PhD in Imperial College with work on Western Ireland, and then he briefly worked in the University of Manchester, and then he moved to Cambridge, and after Cambridge, while in Cambridge, he started working in the Appalachians in the United States, starting in Newfoundland, coming down into the southern states. So he thought it would be sensible to move to a place where the field area would be so close. So he accepted an invitation by his friend Jack Bird to come to Albany, New York. Shortly after he came to Albany, if there is anybody among you who know Jack Bird, Jack got into a row with the president of the university and abruptly left. So John was left alone in Albany, and he knew that his old friend Kevin Burke was looking for a job. So he called him up, he said, "Kevin, come over." And at the time, working with Kevin in Canada was Bill Kidd, a former PhD student of John's, one of the finest field geologists I've ever seen. I mean, I learned mapping from Bill. So they got them to Albany, and then Miyashiro, the great Columbia University, couldn't find a position for one of the world's greatest petrologists. So John said, "Akio, would you like to come here?" And Akio said yes. So Albany department has become, in the United States, the best geology department for about 10 years. I was very lucky to be there during that interval, and that I owe to John, because I met John when I was at the University of Houston, and he said, "Come up to Albany." John's great contributions to geology actually started before the plate tectonics made a big row. He had mapped in various places in the UK, but after plate tectonics came about, he was one of the first 5 to interpret an entire mountain belt in terms of plate tectonics. He had 3 papers in 1969 and 1970. The 2 papers in 1969 and 1 got out in Nature, and that was about the Appalachian Caledonian orogenic belt, which still very much serves as a basis for further research. It was a wonderful paper, and it naturally made a big splash. But after that, John got interested in various specific problems like the ophiolites, and he sent his students to Newfoundland to map those magnificent ophiolitic naps in the Bay of Islands area. And I was very lucky as an undergraduate. John said, "You go too." And it was a tremendous learning experience when I went to Newfoundland. And then he got into the alpine system because of its extreme complexity. He interpreted with his friends, Walter Pittman, Bill Ryan, and Jean Bonnet, the evolution of the alpine system in the Mediterranean. And that was when I just got into the university, and it was a great eye-opener for me. And when I met John in 1975, I said, Professor Dewey, may I have a copy of that paper? Then I got a stack that big of all the papers, and then John said, you come over to Albany to do a PhD with me. But then I got into a row with the University of Houston people because they were fairly ignorant in geology. And I called up John, 11 o'clock, I'd never forget that, 11 o'clock at night. I said, I'm fed up with these people. I would like to go to the ETH in Zurich, finish my undergraduate, and then come to you for a PhD. John's immediate response was, no, look mate, don't do that. If you go to Europe, you'll never come back. Come up to Albany, we're all Englishmen here. That I would never forget. He said, we're all Englishmen here. And that was the best decision I've ever made in my life. It was a superb 6 years in Albany. John, at that time, got into the kinematics of plate tectonics as it was first formulated by Dan McKenzie sitting there. I mean, Dan always says plate tectonics as a theory had been completed in 1969. You know, once they published the triple junctions. John took that kinematics and applied it to historical geology. And to his horror, he discovered that it was impossible for us to make complete reconstructions of the historical geology of orogenic belts. But he said, all hope is not lost. You can still have good models that are testable. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to go on and on and on. I mean, if you want to talk about Dewey, or Professor McKenzie, or Professor Pichon, you can talk a whole week about what they've done. So I don't want to bore you more. And with that, I would like to ask our Rector Magnificus, Professor Karaja, here to hand the honorary doctorate to Professor Dewey. Professor Dewey. Japan. Please. Yes.
Okay, the proposal dated December 21st, 2018 by the Directorate of Eurasia Institute of Earth Sciences regarding entitling honorary doctorate for John Dewey from University of Oxford and the attached decision of the Directorate are discussed. As a result of the meeting and in accordance with the Article 2, clauses B, C, E, and F of the Senate Principles regarding entitling honorary doctorate by Istanbul Technical University, it is decided by unanimity that Professor John Dewey, faculty member from University of Oxford, entitled honorary doctorate due to his contribution on the advancement of science and technology in the world and in our country in the field of earth sciences.
would like to invite Professor Dr. John Dewey here to the stand to share his feelings with us.
Mr. Rector, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, what a wonderful costume. I'm so proud. Wonderful. Well, I'm deeply honored and proud to be awarded this doctorate from ITU, the leading university in Turkey with a fine history in science since the 18th century. I have spent much happy time doing geological fieldwork with graduate students in many parts of Turkey, from the Menderes core complex around Kula in the west, to ophilites and neotectonics around Hazargulu in the east. In all these endeavors, I have received nothing but kindness, friendship, help, and logistical support from many individuals, groups, organizations, and families. I'm especially grateful to TPAO, Turkish Petroleum, MTA, the Turkish Geological Survey, Fuat Şarıglu, Ozan Sungalu, Ihsan Ketin, and above all, Celal Şengör and the Şengör family. Turkey holds much of the key to understanding the geological evolution of the broad plate boundary zone of the Alpides from the Triassic period to the neotectonics of the present. And I hope that it will always be part of my geological research. A byproduct of working in Turkey is my addiction to Turkish food, especially imam bayildi, topik, and especially Arnavut shigari. Right. I can assure you that even at 82, I will never give up studying rocks until I'm carried out in a box. Because quite simply, geology is a disease for which there is no known cure. And finally, in my limited schoolboy Turkish, teşekkür ederim. Thank you very much indeed.
We thank Professor Dr. Celal Şengör and Professor Dr. John Dewey and invite them to their seats. Thank you very much. We will move on to the ceremony where Professor Dr. Xavier Pichon will be conferred upon the honorary doctorate. We would like to invite Professor Dr. Atilla Çiner to present Professor Dr. Xavier Pichon.
Xavier Pichon is one of the architects behind the theory of plate tectonics, a revolution of the 20th century in geology. Pichon is one of the 4 geologists that contributed substantially in establishing the theoretical basis of plate tectonics in his foundation publication, which he wrote in 1968. Moreover, Pichon also carried out studies on the Alpine belt and contributed significantly, in particular, to understanding the last 180 million years of evolutions of the Alpides. He also, along with his colleagues from France, in particular the late Jacques Angelier, revealed the dynamic foundations of the tectonics of the Aegean region. Pichon's close relationship with Turkey and ITU, in fact, began after the 1999 earthquakes, when he came to Turkey immediately after the earthquake and visited the earthquake area with Professor Celal Şengör. He proposed putting into use immediately the opportunity that the earthquake created to study the North Anatolian Fault, which continued under the Sea of Marmara. In the year 2000, he, along with Celal Şengör, organized the cruise of the Le Suroît research vessel and mapped the floor of Marmara Sea at a scale of 1/50,000. Pichon has played a major role in making the Sea of Marmara currently the world's geologically best known inland sea.
We thank Professor Dr. Attila Çiner. And now we would like to invite Professor Dr. Xavier Pichon. Now, Professor Dr. Attila Çiner will declare the article of the Senate of ITU regarding the honorary doctorate to be conferred.
La proposition émanant de la direction de l'Institut eurasien des sciences de la Terre est datée du 21 décembre 2018 de décerner le titre Doctoris Honoris Causa à Xavier Pichon, professeur au Collège de France, a été examiné par le Sénat de l'Université technique d'Istanbul. Conformément à l'article 2 des règlements de Sénat concernant l'octroi du doctorat honoris causa de l'université, le Conseil a décidé à l'unanimité des votants qu'il attribuait au professeur Xavier Pichon le titre de docteur honoris causa de l'Université technique d'Istanbul, en raison de ses contributions à l'avancement de la science et de la technologie dans le domaine des sciences de la Terre, dans le monde et dans notre pays. Merci.
We would like to invite Professor Dr. Xavier Pichon here to the stand to share his feelings with us.
Well, of course, I'm very grateful. I started my research life exactly 60 years ago. And one of the marvels I do not cease to be impressed by is the fact that in our field of science, we talk the same language, and we can all say, this is wrong or this is right. And I think it's a unique field. I've not found that in philosophy or any other thing. So that makes us a great fraternity. And I think that's one of the things I get out of science. It is a fraternity of people trying to find the truth in the universe. But I think 20 years ago, when I got a phone call from my friend Jelal Şengör telling me there has been these terrible earthquakes, there are a lot of people in great difficulty here. Can we do something about it? And I said, of course I can come and try to see. And I discovered that this fraternity of science can be used to help people, to help humanity, to really put ourselves at the disposal of the people who need it. And that was the start of this program on the Marmara Sea. That was a great experience in fraternity, but I think also in enhancing the powers of those people who wanted to help and try to understand what was happening. We have learned a lot since 20 years. I still feel that there has not been enough, and that the recent earthquakes indicate that there should be much more significant urge to go beyond that and to try to to get the maximum information we can have to mitigate the possibility of such a large earthquake coming on. So again, that has been a great experience. I'm very grateful. I think fraternity through science can expand outside of science to the whole civilian life and start a real fraternity between people. Thank you.
We thank Professor Dr. Xavier Pichon and invite him to their seats. Now we will move on to the ceremony where Professor Dr. McKenzie will be conferred upon the honorary doctorate. We would like to invite Professor Dr. Sinan Özeren to present Professor Dr. Dan McKenzie.
Ladies and gentlemen, first let me say that I'm really honored to introduce Professor McKenzie here at ITU. I was lucky that during my PhD at the University of Cambridge, he was around, and I really admired and learned a lot from his, the way he approached scientific problems. So, okay. Professor Dan McKenzie of Cambridge University is one of the most prominent earth scientists of the world, with his significant studies and achievements. McKenzie, who is a laureate of the Crawford Prize, which is deemed to be the Nobel Prize of Earth Sciences, undertook significant research regarding the emergence of plate tectonics, comparative movements of the plates, and the reasons behind such movements. Following the discovery of plate tectonics by Tuzo-Wilson in 1965, McKenzie showed in 1967 that it indeed worked on a sphere, and his Nature article is recognized as one of the most significant tests of Tuzo-Wilson's theory. Professor McKenzie is also one of the pioneers of the fluid mechanical formulations and numerical models of mantle convection, and the way in which the mantle convection relates to the plate tectonics. Later on, McKenzie continued to work on the dynamics of the Earth at various scales. He made major contributions to both theoretical and observational studies in fields as diverse as melt extraction in Earth's mantle, seismotectonics, convection on other planets, and planetary formation in general. His interest in seismotectonics led him to undertake field studies around the world, around the globe, including Anatolia. His studies have vital importance for the understanding of Turkey's neotectonics. McKenzie, who has spent his whole academic life at Cambridge, conducted his doctoral studies with the famous geophysicist Sir Edward Bullard, and still continues his research at Bullard Laboratories in Cambridge. McKenzie, who was awarded by the Order of the Companions of Honor by Queen Elizabeth II, contributed very greatly to our understanding of Turkey's geology with his remarkable studies. He was also a friend of Professor Ihsan Ketin and knew Sir Erinç personally.
We thank Professor Dr. Sinan Özeren. And we would like to invite Professor Dr. Dan McKenzie. And now, we would like to invite Professor Dr. Attila Çiner to declare the article of the Senate of ITU regarding the doctorate to be conferred.
The proposal dated December 21st, 2018 by the Directorate of Eurasia Institute of Earth Sciences regarding entitling honorary doctorate for Professor Dan McKenzie from University of Cambridge and the attached decision of the Directorate are discussed. As a result of the meeting and in accordance with the Article 2, clauses B, C, E, and F of the Senate principles, regarding entitling honorary doctorate by Istanbul Technical University, it is decided by unanimity that Professor McKenzie, faculty member from University of Cambridge, entitled honorary doctorate due to his contribution on advancement of science and technology in the world and in our country in the earth sciences.
Professor Dr. McKenzie here to the stand to share his feelings with us.
Rector of the University, ladies and gentlemen, I'm quite delighted to be here to be given this honour, though I feel a little under false pretences. I have never been an engineer, and I'm certainly not qualified to teach engineering because I've been given this degree. The work which really almost began my career in 1967 on plate tectonics, worked very well in the oceans, but not on the continents. And this was clear right from the beginning and explained really why geologists on the continents had not discovered what was going on in 150 years of research. And I was very curious as to why not. What was special about the continents? And the obvious place to work was somewhere in the Alpine Himalayan belt. I started in Iran, worked in Iran for quite some time, and then they had a revolution which made it really impossible any longer to work in the field. So I remember very well the first time I came to Turkey was 1978, and I came in the university car with a box of papers on the various fault breaks around the Aegean, both in Greece and Turkey. And with my student, who I think, I forget whether he was still my student, James Jackson, we did 10,000 miles driving all over Greece and Turkey. And we got into terrible trouble because it was a brand new yellow car, and we drove it along a road which had just been tarred. And when we brought it back to Cambridge, it was covered, this yellow car, with black tar. And we were never forgiven for doing this. In this group of papers were Ketin's papers on the North Anatolian fault, both where it broke in North Anatolia and also to the west of here. And he is one of the Turkish geologists I greatly admire, and I'm very sad he isn't here, because what he did in the field under extremely difficult circumstances probably during the war actually, really showed what was going on, which was that Turkey was moving westwards. I think by that time I already knew Celal Şengör, who is the other Turkish geologist I greatly admire, and he has become a personal friend over many years, and I suspect I'm standing here largely because of his influence in this university, which is splendid. So I have continued to work in Turkey. Last year I was finally allowed to go to the east because of the Turks, And so I saw all the things which I'd been thinking about and studying for now nearly 40 years. So I'm very honored and delighted to be given this honor here, and now to become an alumnus of ITU. Thank you very much.
We thank Professor Dr. McKenzie. Now, we would like to invite Professor Dr. Celal Şengör, Professor Dr. John Dewey, and Professor Dr. Xavier Pichon to the stage to shoot a photo for the remembrance of this precious day. Rector, members of Istanbul Technical University Senate, and dear guests, we thank you for joining us for this precious day.